everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Andrea and I love to share my favorite vegan baking recipes on my channel amongst other videos. So if you haven't already done so, I'd love for you to follow along and subscribe to my channel. Ring that bell so that you know exactly when my next video is out. Today I'm sharing my top 10 absolute kitchen staple must-haves for vegan baking. So if you guys stock your kitchen with these 10 things, you will be able to make the majority of vegan baking recipes. Number one, we've got refined coconut oil and vegan butter. Not all vegan recipes, but most of them start off with needing either a vegan butter or a coconut oil or some sort of fat or oil. Personally, I rarely use vegan butter, but it does come in handy when you can't really use coconut oil and you need it for something like frostings. But to be honest, most of the time, I am just using this type of solid refined coconut oil. Refined just means that it doesn't have the coconut oil taste, so you can absolutely use unrefined if you don't mind your end result having a slight coconutty taste, and it also depends on the recipe that you're making. Also note that most recipes refer to the solid form of coconut oil unless it specifically says to use the liquid form of coconut oil. So always check your ingredient list as well as the directions ahead of time. If it says to melt the coconut oil, you know you're working with the solid coconut oil. Number two, we've got pitted dates. I buy the pitted kind because it's just super convenient. Otherwise, you can buy regular dates with pits and remove them. Keep in mind that most of the time when you're using these dates, you're going to have to soak them in hot water to soften them up. An alternative to doing that is to buying medjool dates, which are the really big, juicy dates, but the downside is that they are very expensive, so I prefer to save those for snacking on and use these in my baking. Dates are great for adding natural sweetness to recipes. As well, dates are very sticky in texture when they're grinded up, so they're great for combining things in recipes. For example, when you're making raw pie crusts. Number three are nuts and seeds. You will see that a lot of vegan baking recipes call for some sort of nut or seed butter. So something like peanut butter or tahini, as well as almond butter, cashew butter, pretty much any type of nut butter or seed butter can be used interchangeably in a recipe. As well, you're gonna wanna have whole nuts. I have some pecans here, cashews. If you are going to just pick one type of nut to kind of have on hand all the time, I would personally suggest cashews because you're going to end up using cashews a lot if you want to make things like cheesecake or creamy type fillings for recipes. And unless you have a very, very powerful blender, you're typically going to need to soak your cashews in some boiling water to soften them up. Number four is oats. Typically, you can get away with any type of oats. They can be large flake rolled oats, the quick oats, and I've been noticing more and more that recipes call for oat flour, and all oat flour is grinded up oats. So you can do this yourself in a blender. You do not have to buy ready-made oat flour. Oat flour is really great to use in no-bake recipes. I personally love to add or mix in some oat flour or straight up oats to make recipes a little bit healthier, such as muffins or breakfast breads like banana bread, pumpkin bread, or cookies. Number five is plant-based milk. I have some coconut milk here as well as some soy milk, but you really can use pretty much any type of plant-based milk that you prefer or that you already typically buy. Just keep in mind that some recipes do specify for a full-fat coconut milk, which is the one that you will buy in the can, and check the fat content. It should be around 14 grams. If it's anything less, then it's not a full-fat coconut milk. And always be sure to stir in that fat content that settles at the top of the can very well into your mixture so that you're getting that full-fat coconut milk. Number six is flax and chia seeds. Most vegan baking recipes, because they do not include eggs, will ask you to make a flax egg or a chia seed egg. The chia seeds can be just straight up soaked in water, but for the flax seeds, you're always gonna have to grind them up unless you purchase them already ground and then mix them with the water. Typically, you can interchange these two, no problem. Just keep in mind that when you're using chia seeds, you're likely going to see those little black specks of seeds throughout your baked good. And also, this is just my personal preference, but I prefer using chia seeds because I don't really like the taste of flax seeds once they're grinded up. And I find that the jelly kind of like texture of the chia seeds after they've soaked in water just really mimics the texture of an egg, which we're trying to replace in a recipe. Number 7 is either mashed bananas or any type of fruit puree. Think applesauce or pumpkin puree. Because I do a lot of vegan baking, what I typically do is buy a bunch of bananas, let them ripen so that they're nice and sweet, and then freeze them, and then I always have them in the freezer. But you can also use these other types of fruit purees in place of mashed bananas. This gives a lot of moisture to a recipe, and you'll notice that a lot of recipes that are fat-free or oil-free will use a fruit puree in place of oil. Number 8 is dark chocolate and cocoa powder. You can either buy chocolate that is specifically marked vegan, or you can buy just regular dark chocolate. Typically anything 70% or higher is good, but always be sure to check the ingredients that there's no milk ingredients in there. And if you need chocolate chips, you can buy vegan chocolate chips, or just use this and just chop it up into chunks. Number 9 is maple syrup. Now I know it's a little bit more expensive, but trust me, it's worth it to get 100% maple syrup. A lot of vegan recipes call for maple syrup. Maple syrup is also a great alternative to honey if you're just making a regular recipe and trying to make it vegan. And lastly, number 10 is vinegar. So either plain white vinegar or apple cider vinegar. You can interchange the two. You can also typically get away with just some squeezed lemon juice. Vinegar is used a lot in vegan baking recipes where you need to give rise to something, such as a cake. And typically the vinegar will interact with the baking soda to make it bubble up and give that rise that typically eggs would in a recipe. There you have it. Those are my top 10 must-haves that you should have in your kitchen ready to go for vegan baking. I just want to make note that this is in addition to regular all-purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And these extra 10 will have you totally set for vegan baking. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful and useful for you. If you did, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more vegan baking videos from me in the future. And if you have any vegan baking questions or questions about the ingredients that I mentioned today, just ask me down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching along, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!